You never forget the moment your world splits open. I was 32 when I found out. A Thursday afternoon, cloudless sky, I came home early, just a hunch. The house was quiet. Too quiet. My instincts weren't wrong. There they were, my wife and a man I thought was my friend. She didn't flinch. Didn't cry. Just looked at me and said, "You'll never leave me. You need me more than I need you." Those words pierced deeper than the betrayal itself. She was right, at least at the time. She knew every cent we had. I'd invested everything. Time, money, my soul, into building her boutique fitness brand. I built her app. I ran the marketing. I created the damn logo on a napkin in a cheap hotel room back when we couldn't afford 2 coffees. We built it all together, and I walked away with nothing. I remember packing my bags with the clothes I could carry and a laptop that barely worked. My bank account? $2,149.17. That was it. No house. No equity. No friends who didn't pick sides. I slept on my cousin's sofa for 6 weeks, staring at the ceiling every night, repeating the same mantra: "She thinks I need her. She'll regret that." But this isn't a story of revenge. This is a story of reinvention. The scramble. I'd been quietly building a small SaaS product before everything fell apart. Nothing huge, just a simple dashboard that helped micro-businesses track user behavior in real time. The kind of thing people ignored until they needed it. I'd shown it to a few folks. Gotten polite smiles. No bites. But now, with nowhere to go and no one left to impress, I decided I'd build it out. Not for investors. Not for praise. For me. Every day, I woke up at 5 a.m., worked until midnight. Coffee. Code. Cold showers. Repeat. I didn't have the luxury of balance. I had focus, fury, and a future to rewrite. The breakthrough came in the most unlikely way. A tweet. I posted a GIF showing real-time user flows on a client site using my tool. It went viral. Overnight, I had 12,000 new followers and 3,000 people on a waitlist. One of them was a well-known startup founder. He DM'd me. "This is brilliant. What's your pricing?" I didn't even have a payment page yet. I built one in an hour. Called it Pulse Loop. $29 per month for solo founders. $99 per month for small teams. I launched quietly to my mailing list. By the end of the first month, I had 128 paying users. $7,412 in MRR. It wasn't billions, but it was freedom. The rebuild. I rented a studio apartment with a mattress on the floor and a whiteboard on every wall. I wrote down 3 rules. Never chase revenge, build legacy. People remember stories, not specs. Work like your future kids are watching. I stayed lean. No offices. No hires. I automated support, created video tutorials, and answered every email myself. I learned what my users wanted more than anything: insight without overwhelm. So I redesigned Pulse Loop to feel like magic. Smooth UI, predictive suggestions, bite-sized reports that even the least technical person could understand. One night, a Fortune 500 company's product manager signed up and emailed me. "Your tool just saved us 6 figures in user testing." That's when I raised the price to $499 per month for enterprise client. They didn't flinch. More followed. I remember walking past the boutique where my ex held her weekend classes. Her business had grown, TV features, podcast interviews, but I no longer looked at her with anger. Just gratitude. Without that betrayal, I never would have built something of my own. But this was only the beginning. The first million. Within 18 months, Pulse Loop hit $2.4 million in ARR. I had 3 part-time contractors, 7,000 active users, and 0 debt. I'd received acquisition offers. $10M, $14 million, even $22 million. I declined all of them. Not because the money wasn't tempting, but because for the first time in my life, I wasn't building for someone else. I remember sitting alone in a cafe in Lisbon when I saw my dashboard cross 7 figures in annual profit. No investors. No partners. Just me, a laptop, and a vision forged in heartbreak. But I knew I couldn't stop there. What I had wasn't just a product, it was a platform. A new way of thinking about behavioral data. So I started building something bigger. Something that would change how companies understood their customers, and how people understood themselves. People think success starts with a strategy. It doesn't. It starts with pain, then mindset. After Pulse Loop crossed 1 million, I hit a wall. Not financially. Mentally. I didn't know who I was without the struggle. I'd spent so long fighting my way out of heartbreak, betrayal, and financial ruin that comfort felt wrong. Like I didn't deserve it yet. That's when I realized I wasn't chasing wealth. I was chasing worth. I had to rewire my identity. I started reading obsessively. Every night. Autobiographies, psychology, behavioral economics, systems thinking. I wasn't looking for tips. I was hunting patterns. Clues. Common threads behind how people think when they're on the edge of greatness. One quote changed me forever. The man who loves walking will walk farther than the man who loves the destination. I didn't want to just win. I wanted to fall in love with the process. I stopped asking, how fast can I grow? And started asking, how deep can I go? That shift was everything. Building the empire in silence. I went off the radar for 9 months. No interviews. No podcasts. No social media. I turned down conferences, press requests, even private invites from billionaires. Why? Because noise is poison when you're building something sacred. During that time, I transformed Pulse Loop from a product into a system. Something companies couldn't live without. I introduced AI-driven pattern recognition, predictive churn forecasting, real-time emotion mapping based on user behavior. We didn't just track behavior, we started understanding it. I recruited engineers and data scientists from 5 different countries. People I met in Reddit threads, GitHub repositories, and obscure online forums. Not a single resume exchange. I hired minds, not pedigrees. We rebuilt the backend, redesigned the frontend, and reimagined what customer analytics could be. We called the new platform Pulse Loop OS. Launch day was unlike anything I'd experienced. Thousands of users. Praise from CEOs I'd once admired from afar. Even major VC firms started knocking. But I wasn't interested in taking money. I wanted to make money on my terms. The day I saw her again. It was at a tech summit in Miami. I'd been invited to speak on a panel about solo founders who'd scaled past 8 figures. I almost didn't go, but something told me it was time. After my talk, a crowd gathered. Some fans. Some skeptics. Some investors trying to flirt their way into a slice of equity. But then I saw her, my ex-wife. Same sharp eyes. Same smirk. She walked right up to me like the past hadn't happened. You look different, she said. I smiled. I am. She paused, maybe waiting for an apology, or a thank you, or even a jab. But I gave her nothing. Not out of bitterness. Out of peace. I'd already won. We talked for a few minutes, awkwardly polite, like strangers with too much history and no common future. Then I walked away. And I'll be honest, it felt incredible. But not because I got back at her. That moment proved I didn't need to anymore. I'd built a life so full of purpose that her presence no longer held power. The breakthrough deal. 3 months after Miami, a global retail giant approached me. They wanted to license Pulse Loop OS for their entire e-commerce ecosystem, tens of millions of users. Their offer? $32 million for exclusive rights in their sector. It was tempting, life-changing. But I asked them for 48 hours to think it over. I flew to the Rockies, disconnected from everything, and journaled in a cabin with nothing but a fire and my thoughts. Here's what I wrote. If I take this deal, I become rich. If I pass on it, I stay free. But if I create something bigger, I do both. I turned the deal down. Instead, I pivoted PulseLoop into a licensing platform. We started offering specialized white-label versions for industries like healthcare, education, and fintech. Each one uniquely tailored, high margin, and low churn. Revenue exploded. In under a year, we crossed $58 million in ARR. And I still owned 100% of the company. Lessons from the rise. At that point, people started asking for my formula. They thought it was about clever pricing, clean UX, or perfect timing. But the truth? My success started the day I walked away from someone who thought I never would. It started with knowing my value, even when no one else did. It accelerated when I turned heartbreak into hunger. It exploded when I stopped proving people wrong and started proving myself right. I never needed a co-founder. I needed clarity. I never needed venture capital. I needed vision. And I never needed revenge. I needed purpose. I wasn't just building a company. I was building a legacy. By the time we hit $58 million in ARR, something strange started happening. I didn't feel euphoric. I didn't even feel proud. I felt empty. Not because I didn't love the company, I did. But because I'd spent so long chasing that first win, I never asked myself what came after it. I had money, freedom, recognition. But no one warns you that success without direction can feel just as disorienting as failure. I woke up in a $5,000 a night suite in Tokyo and stared at the ceiling, thinking, what now? The loneliness of building alone. Here's something they don't put in the hustle montages. Loneliness. At every stage, the air gets thinner. The conversations shift from dreams to spreadsheet. From what if to what's next. Friends stop relating to you. Family assumes you've made it. But inside? You're still climbing. I'd sacrificed everything to get here. Sleep, relationships, birthdays, holidays, even my health. I hadn't seen a doctor in 2 years. My back ached from working 16-hour days. My screen time was nearing 15 hours daily. I had built an empire of data, dashboards, and decisions, but I'd forgotten to build a life. That realization hit me hard. So I stopped everything. I canceled my speaking gigs, paused the expansion plans, bought a cabin in the Pacific Northwest, and lived without Wi-Fi for 30 days. The silence saved me. I rediscovered stillness. I journaled, meditated, cried, thought about the man I used to be, broken, broke, betrayed, and asked, what would he think of me now? He wouldn't be impressed by the revenue. He'd want to know if I felt whole. And the truth? I didn't. Not yet. They say revenge is best served cold. But I didn't want revenge. I wanted clarity. I wanted freedom. And yeah, maybe just a little unforgettable moment. Not for her. For me. The invitation. It started with a wedding invitation. Not hers. Mine. I was getting married. To a woman who'd met me long after the money, the mess, or the motives. She loved me for me, not the headlines, not the bank account, not the company. We were keeping it small. Intentional. Just 30 people. Family. Founders. Friends who stuck through the silence. But I added one name to the guest list that raised every eyebrow on my team. My ex-wife. No bitterness. No drama. Just one line on a cream card with gold edges. You once said I'd never leave. Consider this the official notice. Was it petty? Maybe. But sometimes closure needs punctuation. The day of the ceremony. It was in Positano. Clifftop venue. Strings playing softly. The ocean behind us, glowing like it had waited for this day too. I stood in a linen suit, barefoot, centered. Not nervous. Not eager. Just ready. As the ceremony began, I caught her in the crowd. She came. She stood near the back. Sunglasses. Still sharp. Still unreadable. But this time, I wasn't reading her. I was reading the faces of people who knew my story. Who saw the climb. Who witnessed the rebuild. Who celebrated not the business, but the becoming. As my bride walked down the aisle, I didn't look back. Not physically. Not emotionally. because everything I'd left behind no longer owned a single square inch of my heart. And in that silence, as the vows echoed through the warm coastal air, I knew. I didn't need closure. I was the closure. The conversation after. Later that night, after the dancing, after the laughter, she approached me. "Why did you invite me?" she asked. I smiled. "Because I wanted you to see something." "What?" "That you were wrong. I did leave. And I didn't just walk away, I elevated. And you know what? You were part of it. So thank you, for showing me exactly who I didn't want to become." She looked at me, no words, just silence. Then she nodded once, turned, and walked into the night. That was the last time I ever saw her. Full circle. The company kept growing. I sold a minority stake years later. Valuation: $1.1 billion. I used the proceeds to launch an education fund for solo founders who come from nothing. I named it after my grandfather, the only person who believed in me when I had less than zero. We've now helped over 4,000 entrepreneurs in 27 countries. One of them just closed a $30 million funding round. Another got her first customer last week, and called me crying. I cried too. My story became a book. A film deal is in the works. I still find that part surreal. But here's the part that matters. I'm not a billionaire because I chased money. I'm a billionaire because I refused to let betrayal define my story. I used the pain, the silence, the heartbreak as rocket fuel. I built in the dark, and when I stepped into the light, I was unrecognizable. What I'd tell the old me. If I could speak to the man sitting on that sofa years ago, broke, betrayed, alone, I'd say this. She thinks you won't leave. She thinks you need her. But what you need is to remember who you are. You are not broken. You are becoming. And when you rise, because you will, make the day you walk away so unforgettable that even she has to respect it. Final message to you. So if you're watching this and your heart is shattered, if someone told you you'll never make it, if you're living in the shadow of someone who doubted you, just remember this. They can doubt your worth. They can mock your dreams. They can leave you with nothing. But they cannot stop the fire inside you. You don't need to prove them wrong. You just need to prove yourself right. And when you do, don't just walk away. Rise, build, become, and make the day you leave unforgettable.